Welcome students. When we were kids, there was a favorite game of ours. Do you remember the snake game? Where a snake was trying to catch an apple, and as he ate the apple, his size goes larger and larger and larger. And whenever he touches an edge or touches himself, the game was over. Now, in this series, we are going to make the same game on the scratch. So let's first name our project Snake Game. And now let's delete the sprite and create our own snake sprite. So we are going to paint a sprite. Let's select this circle here and pick a greenish color, a more darker one, and draw a circle here. This circle will be the head of the snake. And now what we are going to do is to add eyes and mouth to the snake's head. So let's select the brush here and pick a color, let's say blackish, and we are going to just make two dots here using our brush and the black color, the first one and the second one. This will be the eyes for the snake. Now let's change the color a bit and let's select the color of its mouth. So let's add another dot, and here is the head of the snake. Now we will be creating another sprite which will be the body of the snake. So for that, let's again select a little lighter version of green and add a rectangular shape to create the body of the snake. For the outlining, we are again going to use the greenish color as the outline. So now the body is created. And what we are going to do is to reduce the size of the snake head and the snake body both. So let's go back and reduce the size of the head to, let's say, 80. And we are also going to reduce the size of the body of snake to 80 as well. Now it looks better. We are going to rename them. This will be the body and this will be the head of the snake. Now what we want is the snake to move all around the stage. So let's go in the event section and drag out the when flag clicked block. And now what we want is the game to be started from center, because for example the game starts and the snake head is around here. As the game started, even in the few seconds, if the user is not able to turn the snake, the game will be over. So it's a good practice to always start from the center of the stage. So we are going to start from just a bottom center of the stage. So let's say we are going to place the head of the snake, because we are writing the code for it. As you can see, the thumbnail of the head is appearing here. So let's say go to XY block, and we want the game to be started when the snake head is at 0x and -50y. If I run it, see, this is the place where the game will be started. Let's keep the body out for a while. And now what we want is that whenever we are pressing the right key, the snake head should walk in the right direction, and same for the left, up and down arrows. So now first of all, let's add a point to direction block. And why we are adding this is, you have seen every time a sprite is chosen from the library of the scratch, it is by default set an orientation of 90 degrees, which means it is by default in the right direction. Now what we want this head to do is to forever move 10 steps. If I run this, it will move 10 steps in the direction which is the 90 degrees direction, which means the right direction. Now let's stop this, and we want the snake to move according to our arrows. So for that, let's drag this a bit, and we are going to add when arrow pressed block. So let's just shrink it a bit, and let's go into the section event and drag out when key pressed block. So now what we are gonna do is that whenever the up arrow is pressed, we are going to point the snake head in the direction of the upside. And in Scratch, the upside direction is, if I move it, is 0 degrees. And let's duplicate this 3 times. One more time. Now what we want is when the down arrow is pressed, it should point in the direction down, which is 180. And if the left arrow is pressed, it should point in the direction left, which is negative 90 degrees. And when the right arrow is pressed, it should point in the direction right, which is by default, and the value is 90 degrees. So let's run this again and see, as I'm pressing the up, left, down, right keys, the snake head is walking accordingly. Now what we want is the snake body to travel wherever the snake head is going. And also we want it to create clone of itself, so that the snake size gets increased as the score is getting larger and larger. So what we are going to do is to write code for the body here. So let's drag out the when flag clicked block. Let's zoom in, and first of all we are going to add a forever block. And inside the forever block, the first thing that will be executed by the body to be close to the head. So we are going to add a go-to block, and instead of a random position, we are going to place it towards the head. So whenever it is clicked, the body should end at the head. And now what we want this to create clone of itself. So let's go into the control section again and drag out create clone of myself block. And now let's add another weight block. There is the weight block here, and let's add this and put the value 0.01 seconds. Now this body will start cloning itself, but in starting we should hide the body, and as it starts cloning itself, we should show the clones of the body, not the actual one. So let's add another block, which is when I start as clone. So first of all, let's add the hide and show block, the hide block and the show block. The hide block will go inside when flag clicked, so that every time the game starts, only the clones will appear, not the body itself. And again, let's show the clones when I start as a clone. And again, let's add a wait block here of 1 second, let's say. And after that, while 1 second is happening, what we want is to delete the clone. Otherwise, if we do not delete this clone, if we run this, the snake will be getting larger and larger. Let's see what happens with this code. See, the snake is getting larger and larger and larger. But when we are adding the delete this clone block, the snake will start deleting itself from the tail. So let's stop the code again, drag the snake here, and see we have added the hide to the body part, and that's why only head is appearing. And if I add a delete this clone block after the weight, and let's run this, what we are seeing is that the tail part is keep deleting itself, and we are getting a constant snake here. And the snake size is increasing relatively slowly. And if I increase the wait amount to, let's say, 4 seconds, the snake will increase its size a bit faster. See, the snake is increasing its size a bit faster, and the deletion of the cloning happening after the 4 seconds. Understood? Now we are going to add the apple that the snake will eat. So we are going to choose another sprite, and we are going to add an apple, and we are going to reduce the size of the apple so that it can go inside the head of the snake. So we are going to resize the apple to, let's say, 70 pixels. Still it is bigger than the snake head. So let's add the size to 60. Then it is good. Now what we want the apple to, whenever the flag is clicked, if it is touching the head, then we will increment the score by 1. For before doing that, we will have to go into the variable section, and we are going to make a variable which will be called score, and this variable will be for all sprites. And now let's add a forever block, and also let's add an if then block, so that if the apple is touching the snake head, the score will be incremented by 1. So let's go in the sensing section, and there is the touching block. So let's drag this and drop this inside the if block, and let's drag this a bit so that it becomes clear. And instead of mouse pointer, we are going to select the head. So if the apple is touching head, what we want is to go into the variable section and change the value of the score by 1. And once it happens, it will feel as if the snake has eaten the apple. Now we want the apple to appear at the random position in stage. So for that, what we want is to drag the go to X and Y block. But instead of digits, we are going to pick random numbers. And if I place the apple here, see the left limit is minus 226 and the right limit is around 231. So it's around 220 to 240. And same is for the upper Y limit, which is around 180, and the lower Y limit, which is around minus 160 to 180. So let's go in the operators section and add a pick random block for the Y. And instead of 1 to 10, we are going to add, let's say, minus 160, or let's say minus 150 to positive 160. And for the X, we are going to again drag a random number block, and we are placing the value to minus 200 to plus 220. So the code for the apple is that whenever the flag is clicked, if the snake goes to touch the apple in order to eat it, The score will be incremented by 1 because it will feel as if the snake head has eaten the apple, and then the apple will relocate to its new position. So let's run and see what happens. So here it is. The apple is now at a random position, and if I again eat the apple, it is changing its position. Now let's do one more thing. Let's go in the body section and reduce the time of wait to 1 second and see what happens now. Now the snake is of a relatively lower size. But two things here we can see is that whenever the snake is touching the edge, the game is not getting over. And also the snake could travel up and down in its own body, and as well as it can touch its body. In both these cases, the game should be over. So in the next video, we will be adding the logic for the game over, and in that we will be writing the code for the snake to not to touch the edges and its own body. So till then, sayonara students.